everybody, and welcome to 500 Open Tabs. I'm Kaveh Taherian, and normally this is where Hannah Hillam would fill in and explain that she is also part of this podcast. But sadly, she's too cool for us and has gone off on a fun book tour because she's fancy. However, we are still cool without her. And in fact, some would argue that we're going to be even cooler today because filling in for Hannah is our very own... Listen, first of all, list of credentials. She's a podcast editor for a very mid podcast you might have heard of, 500 Open Tabs.
Top of the resume.
Top of the resume, mid podcast editor. She's also an extremely talented illustrator and artist. But most importantly, as we always like to say, the third and most important fact about her is that she's our friend. Please welcome back to the podcast, Miss Alyssa Cooper.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here for the second time.
Thrilled to have you.
26 episodes later.
Oh my God. I did not. Hannah and I were talking about like who was going to fill in for you or who was going to fill in for her. And of course, the first thought was Alyssa. And then I was like, oh, wasn't she just on? I didn't realize it was 25 episodes ago. It's insane.
Yeah. Time has flown.
Dude.
It's wild. I'm
unreal.
I kind of don't realize, because we've got a good output right now. Until someone will like reference an episode way back, and then I just have to scroll and scroll and scroll, and I'm like, oh, that was in our early days. So yeah, it's been really fun to be on this journey with you guys, and like happy to be here.
Yeah, it was episode 10, I think, right?
It was,
just
yeah.
Crazy. I honestly thought that was like a month ago, and it turns out it's months and months ago.
Well, time isn't real, and
yeah, that's true.
And we both kind of lost our minds this summer with like San Diego Comic-Con, and
it was a lot. Yeah. Well,
so,
thank you for taking the time to fill in for
course.
Hannah. I know you're going to have to, unfortunately, be doing double duties on this one. And of course, we're recording this one a little bit earlier than we were going to in the schedule because we wanted to make sure that we got a chance to talk about you being at LA Comic-Con. So for those of you who are in Los Angeles this weekend, please go and see Alyssa. She's going to be at in Artist Alley in the big room at table what?
A49.
A49. Tell them about what you're going to have.
So I'm going to be selling some art prints and some stickers. Kind of have a good blend of like some charcoal pieces and some digital pieces. So, and yeah, I don't really know how to describe my style. It's like illustrative, but not. I don't know. It's one of those things. I'm like, I just draw stuff. I don't know.
That's all you can do. That's all we ever do. Our style is not for us to describe. It's for others to.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to kind of put into words, but
it's good stuff though. That's all that matters. And
thank you.
It's Alyssa's stuff. So if you listen to this podcast and you like it, go support her and buy her stuff. Otherwise, I will fight you because I will also be at LA Comic-Con on Sunday on a Mina panel.
Go
in
see
a
your
room
panel
that I don't remember right now because I forgot to include that because I was so concerned with making sure that you got to plug your thing that I forgot that I'm also going to be on a panel and I should advertise that.
You should.
Please. I should know that. I got it right here. Okay, so on Sunday, which will be October 6th, in room 407 from 3 to 4, that will be where I'm on my Mina panel at the Los Angeles Convention Center. So please come check it out.
Yeah, and it's a great panel. I went at WonderCon.
You did? Yeah, WonderCon is when you came.
Super interesting, really great people on the panel. I highly recommend it. And of course, go support Kaveh.
Yes.
Please.
Come to the table, come to the panel. It'll be a great time. Anyway, but enough of that, enough of our self-plugs. We can get a little bit more. Actually, stick around at the end of the episode. We're going to show some of Alyssa's artwork as well. But seeing as how this is your first proper co-hosting duty, not as a guest host, but as like a guest co-host.
The pressure's on.
Pressure's on. You're going to go first. You get to take Hannah's place. You better bring the Hannah sanity. No, not at all. You got to bring the Alyssanity.
I'll talk a little bit about like all the tabs I went down for this because I did kind of channel Hannah at one point. I jumped on like Ancestry.com, was trying to find people.
That's
the whole thing. I think she would have done a much more thorough job because she's very good at that research. And I was just like, this person.
I'm always impressed by it. Yeah, it's hard. It's like she'll go read like records, and then like she'll download stuff. And I'm like, I don't have that kind of ADHD. I can't do that part of it.
She's, definitely a talent of hers. But yeah, let's see how I do. Let's see what happens.
It's gonna be great.
All right. So my tab this week is from an article called How Three Sisters Revolutionized England's Penny Arcades.
Oh.
and that is by Jenny Elliott from Atlas Obscura. But I came across this and kind of thought it was really, really fascinating, so I'll just jump in. How much do you know about penny arcades, first of all?
I'm assuming that at this time, what did you say the year yet?
Not yet. So
okay.
We're looking at like 1890 to 1940, kind of that range.
Okay, so these arcades are these like video arcades where you're pumping something in and watching something, like kind of what we talked about in the Thomas Edison episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are like coin-operated machines. And this was mostly before like the kinetoscope and motion pictures in that way. And so a lot of these started off as like fortune-telling machines. So think of like...
Zoltar.
Yeah, Zoltar from Big. Pretty much. People were really into this. And for a long time, these little like mechanical automatons just like weren't that exciting. Like by today's standards, people loved them. And it was all clockwork. So no electricity. It was all very intricate. And we're going to talk first of all about these sisters' dad, because he's kind of where the story starts.
Okay.
His name is John Dennison.
John Dennison.
John, strong name.
Oh, Johnny Den.
Johnny Den, not Johnny Denver. Johnny Den. He, in his 20s, in like the 1870s, started to have a hobby of making these little automatons. He had an engineering background. He worked at an engineering firm, but in his spare time, he would just make these little models that would move, and people loved them.
Nice.
And so, they weren't that exciting by today's standards. So, like, he would make agricultural machinery models to show, like,
honestly, that's a whole... I'm sure there's like a Reddit group about, or like a Reddit thread about this. God. There's Facebook groups, I'm sure, dedicated.
Oh, yeah. This is a whole world that I didn't realize existed.
Had the internet been around, that man would have been extremely popular in certain subthreads.
Yes. And honestly, I would watch it. I mean...
Yeah. He would have a YouTube channel. People would love... He would have been rich.
I watched like the videos of like on YouTube where it's just someone like cleaning and restoring an old toy or piece of machinery. And I think that stuff's fascinating. Yeah. So I probably would have been pretty into this. But so that's where John starts his career. And he, like I said, narrative hasn't like come into his machines yet.
Okay.
He has made like a few about ships. And like I said, farming equipment. And he starts taking these around England and exhibiting them, and people love them. Like,
sweet.
Draws crowds. And then something that's really notable about John is that he decided to make his machines coin operated.
Making that money.
Yeah. So he wasn't the inventor of the coin operating system, but he is one of like the first recorded people we have who actually made a living off of these.
Sweet.
So yeah, he was kind of an innovator in that way.
Yeah, 130 years later, I still don't know how to make money off of my hobbies.
I try. I spend more money than I make. It's fine.
Should we add a coin op to the bottom of this podcast and just be like, gotta put in a penny to hear? Subscribe to our Patreon if you haven't done so yet. Yes,
we'll put the link up. And by we, I mean I will.
Alyssa, get on that, please, in the edit.
So John has these machines, and he starts to kind of notice that people like things that are morbid.
That's true.
And it's still true today. So like his models start to turn a little more dark, a little more macabre. Yeah. One of his most famous ones is called the French Execution.
Oh, a coin-operated guillotine?
It's literally a guillotine. It's amazing.
Amazing.
And like, I can send you videos. I do have these.
Yes. We can put them up on the screen too, hopefully. Or
check out our
quick.
YouTube.
They're quick, right?
All of these are 30 seconds or less.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. We'll include some of the clips on here. All right, the coin's going in. It's very elaborate. It's like, my God. This is what this guy made, or this is like sort of based on it?
This is what John made.
Holy shit. This is really elaborate. This is so not what I expected.
Right?
Oh my God. No, it looks like a straight up painting with like multiple layers on it.
Yeah, I thought it kind of looked like someone took a Renaissance painting and like made it into
Alyssa, these are incredible. Holy shit.
Right?
Wow. No, it's
So,
like
yeah,
a moving painting. Yeah.
What
Sorry.
sticks out to you on this painting?
I mean, it's like so it's got two levels. So like the upper level is where they're doing the executing. And then underground, it looks like they're all drinking and getting drunk. If I remember my Les Mis correctly, that's where they're all plotting what to do to like overthrow everybody in not the French Revolution, the next part. I forget what it was called, where Les Mis takes place.
They're singing about being sad down there.
Yeah, exactly. They're drinking, they're banging on the table, they're just going about their. One guy's hitting his own head. One person looks like she's crying on the ground. It's just like, business as usual. And then upstairs. There's a dude who's like, looks like he's trying to pet a horse, although that might not be it. He's probably cheering. Oh my God. And then the head gets chopped off. And then the dude who's like below at the guillotine, like picks up the head.
Yeah. It's the best part.
This is listen, legitimately, this is incredible. I'm so impressed by this. This guy just did this for fun in the 1870s?
So we're around the 1890s at this
1890,
point.
Okay.
He's kind of like honed his craft. But this is
so
before
cool.
the 1900s. Yeah. Pretty wild.
Oh, I love it so much.
That one's gorgeous. And you'll see that like the models that the sisters do are not this, but it's good to know like where they kind of got their start.
This is their stock that they came from.
Yeah. So this is their dad. And from what I was reading, their dad really valued their contributions. Like once the sisters were old enough to sort of help and pitch in, and really encouraged them to like learn about it and take part of the craft. So that kind of comes into play soon.
So cool.
So cool, right?
Duper. Where is that one with the video of that they took? Is it still in?
So that I believe it's in England.
It's somewhere in England. Okay. I was just saying, so is it like available to the public? Is there like a museum or something?
Yes.
Where all these things are?
So there are a few like penny arcade museums sprinkled around the world. And that's where, if any of these survived, we hope that they ended up. But as you can see from just that one, like they're very intricate. They are one-off machines. So not a lot exist.
Yeah.
It's a big deal when people find them.
Yeah. You're not calling the tech guy from whatever, Penny Arcade Penny Arcade Corporate to show up in his truck to just be like, see what you got. You got a busted machine here. You got to swap out the guts, put in a Raspberry Pi. Yeah. Got to call customer support.
My guillotine's not working well.
We'll be there between 1 and 5 p.m. In the meantime, just cut the head off manually.
Typical.
Yeah.
Back to John. He is in a town called Blackpool, England.
Nice.
Which is kind of on the northern coast. And in the late 1800s was very small, like population of 500 people.
Okay.
And then Blackpool starts to try to become kind of a seaside resort. And they do this pretty successfully because they start copying innovations from other places. So like they put in a Ferris wheel after the Ferris wheel debuts.
Sure.
And their big thing is called the Blackpool Tower. And it looks like it's still there. It's really cool. It's like the top third of the Eiffel Tower has just been lopped off, just kind of sitting on the street.
Weird.
So they made this tower, and inside they put an entertainment complex.
Okay.
Because they were like, this is going to make us money. People are going to come here. And John is very smart and secures a contract with this tower to be the only provider of their penny arcade machines.
I mean, if you looked at that one, you'd just be like, hell yeah, bro, I'll give you the contract. Who else?
Yeah, I'll give you, how many pennies do you want?
Yeah, I support the arts. I'll give you as much money as you want.
So he's very established. He kind of like now has a working company. He doesn't have to worry about any competition. Like he's pretty solid. So also in the complex, they had an aquarium and an aviary and a seal pond.
This sounds great.
I'm like, this sounds
Can
like
we go?
blast.
Let's go right now.
I will go. Let's stop recording. And it only cost about $2.50 in today's money to go.
To like enter into the building to be able to access all that stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's a steal.
Such a steal. And so this was very successful. So that's just kind of Blackpool Tower. And that's where most of our story takes place.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, John has 3 daughters. Their names are Florence, Alice, and Eveline.
Solid
They-
19th century names.
So good. And these three daughters, it seems like they had pretty private personal lives.
Okay.
But like I said, John really encouraged them to participate in the business.
Mhm.
And there's several accounts that say that he like strongly discouraged them from marrying. He was like, you don't have to marry. You
Just
can
live with me
just live with me and make my machines.
forever.
And they're like, okay. And they kind of do.
It's kinda
John
cool.
dies. Yeah, I mean, I imagine at the time it was a thing of like, you guys don't have to marry to like make a living. You can keep doing this business and
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
That's not typical at the time necessarily
Right.
either.
Yeah, very kind of unheard of at the time. And
Yeah.
so when John finally passes at the age of 77, we're at
R.I.P.
1924. Rest in peace.
Oh, he dies much later than 1924.
Much
Okay.
later. Yeah,
Okay.
so they've had this company going for about 30 years at this
Yeah,
point.
30 years. Yeah.
And the sisters are at a crossroads and they're like, well, do we keep the business or do we sell it off? And so as a unit, they decide, no, we have some ideas and we're going to keep going with it.
Love it.
They start kind of small with like sort of upgrading the machines that he's already made.
Mm-hmm.
And the sisters, again, kind of notice that the themes that people really latch onto are these morbid things.
Yes.
Like, let me read some of the names of these machines. I'm bummed because we don't have visual records of a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
We know the names.
Listen, we're just going to let your imagination run. That's the fun part of it.
We've got the dying child.
Okay, left field.
Woo!
Not the fun kind of morbid, but like the morbid kind of
But
morbid.
like, yeah, there's a
Not sure I want to
another-
put in a penny and watch a child die necessarily, but
what a fun day at the aquarium.
wow. Okay.
We've got that. We have Supper with Death.
Okay, that's fun. I like that.
That one's pretty fun. Midnight in the Haunted Graveyard.
It's nice.
And then their first model that they made completely from scratch without any of their dad's stuff was called the Haunted Grange.
Grange.
Okay.
Okay.
This was in 1929, and it's a little mini manor where a supernatural killing occurs.
Oh.
This was also kind of the period of, it's called like the golden era of crime. And so people, much like now, were really into like true crime and crime novels and
Yeah.
mysteries. And so the sisters really wanted to not just make something that was cool to watch work, but something that had a reveal and like had some drama.
Okay. So yeah, so they're giving it like a proper arc.
Yeah. So they're like, how can we make
Interesting.
this like a little bit more, it draws you in.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so they make Haunted Grange, super successful. And then a year later, they make one called Spook House. And this one has a levitating telephone. And they decide to switch from clockwork to electricity.
Okay.
So this was notable because now they didn't have to pay a staff member to stand there and like wind the machine.
Oh, I was gonna say, is it all just cranked? Is what they were doing?
Yeah.
Was it cranked each time, or was it like it was just somebody was just doing it the entire time?
I
or
think
what?
it was cranked and then like it would run out of,
Then you
I
have
don't
to
know.
Go redo it, like kind of like a watch or something. or
Yeah,
like it
that's
would
what
only
I'm
work for-
imagining.
Yeah.
But now they didn't have to do that. They had electricity.
Question.
And so they didn't, yes.
Maybe you'll get into this, but so for example, the last one that you showed us, the guillotine one,
Yeah.
was the dad also, he did the painting for all that as well, or are they commissioning people to do these paintings?
So that part's a little unclear. I don't
Okay.
believe that he did the painting. It seems like John sometimes did his own art, but sometimes would take existing automatons and sort of
Automatons,
improve
maybe,
on
yeah.
them.
I see.
And
Okay.
so for the guillotine one, I kind of think that he didn't. It is so intricate and
It's
like
a really elaborate painting. Yeah. I was like, that is not something I was not at all what I expected it to look like.
no, it's insane. So I kind of think that maybe he wasn't the original artist and he was the one who just mechanized it.
Gotcha.
The models that these sisters make,
Yeah.
let me break down their team because
Okay.
they all brought something different to the table.
She's the
So-
fun one. The other one's the crazy one. The bad girl. And she's the
she's
prudent
quiet.
one. Yeah. It's like Sex in the City.
You're such a Florence.
Yeah. She's the one who's obsessed with work and can't get her personal life together because all she's worried about is getting ahead at the law firm.
And she's an editor for no reason. Florence did take over the business side of things.
Okay.
It seemed so like she was the one who was like, no, we're switching to electricity. We're going to make more money that way.
Yeah.
She definitely had like a mind for it. And it's because of the business brain.
Yeah.
It's because of Florence that we know that they were successful, because Florence is the one that like donated their records to the museum after like right before she died.
We need one of those. How do we get a Florence for this podcast? None of us are the Florence. That's the problem.
We need a Florence. This is an open casting call for Florence.
Any Florences listening?
So yeah, Florence has the ideas.
Okay.
Alice, so she's a little bit younger. Alice was a governess, but she was also a dressmaker. And so being a dressmaker means that she was really good with like fine details.
Yeah.
She was really good with her hands.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was good at making these custom mechanics for these machines. Yeah. She was also really good at making the costumes for the little figurines.
Nice.
And then Alice actually went to school to become a book illustrator.
Oh, interesting.
Which is pretty cool.
That's very cool.
And then, you know, after her father passed, she was like, well, I'll stay at the business. She became responsible for all the scenery, props, and like model making.
Sweet.
And I'll show you some of these in a bit.
Yeah.
You'll see the attention to detail is just really lovely.
Awesome.
Really delicate. So yeah, they work together well as a team.
Sorry, real quick. You said did you say Alice twice? Did I mix it? Did I just space out? Or did you say Alice was the illustrator and then Alice was also the dressmaker?
You are right. Good call.
What's the third one's name?
Sorry.
Eveline. Eveline was the illustrator?
Eveline was the illustrator.
Gotcha. Okay.
Eveline would use Alice as a model.
Oh, that's fun.
So she was like, compose for me. I don't know how to make a face. I don't.
Listen, what else is family for? You know how many times I grab Sarah in the middle of like her watching TV? I'll be like, stand over here and then point in this direction so I can take a photo reference of how your hand looks.
I have no idea how hands look. I don't have them. They're
it's
impossible
hard
to draw.
I'm doing like this while I'm drawing and I'm like, I can't.
It's the worst.
It doesn't work. You got to take photo reference sometimes.
I remember, sorry, this is a tangent, but...
How dare you do a tangent on this podcast,
on
Alyssa?
this very focused podcast. I was trying to draw, I had to draw like a storyboard for a project once where someone who was like about to like punch the camera. And I was like, I can't find a reference for this. This is not getting... And so I was like, Mom, come here.
So I punched my mom in the face. And I was like, that's how it feels.
And then I went back to work. No, I made her pose though. I was like, all right, I need you to act like you're hitting at someone and also like you're not happy about it.
Yeah.
And so I have these really funny pictures of her just looking awesome. Like
yeah. Just cocking it back like she's about to throw one at you.
Yeah. She committed. I got to give her nice. Credit for that.
She's like, what do you mean you didn't clean the dishes?
Oh my gosh. Anyways, all that to say.
Yeah.
You might be wondering how lucrative their business was.
Does it pay for itself?
It does. And it's enough to like literally, they're good. So
good.
It takes them about 3 to 6 months to make each machine. And wait, before I tell you how much they're making a year, I'm just going to send you a picture of one of the girls with her machine. Okay, so this is Alice, and she's currently building the spook house, so the one with electricity.
So cool. It looks like, have you ever seen any of how they make the Muppets? Like when they make the Muppet Show or anything like that?
Yeah, where they're like all underneath and like...
Yeah, so it's like it's always all on an elevated platform because they have to hold their hands up like this to do the puppeteering. Yeah. So it looks like that, but like a tiny version of it or it looks like it actually is a real Muppet set. And then there's a gigantic Muppet that's the size of, I don't know, a small house that just happens to be a real person. I'm an insane person. That's how I interpret this, but it looks
That
fun.
is how Muppets, I'm sure that's how they see God. It's fine.
It's super cool though.
Yeah. So all the mechanics happen below and then the little figures on top are what move. So yeah, that's kind of what these models look like in terms of scale and scope. And like I said, they take about 3 to 6 months to make because, like we said before, it's not
really elaborate. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't just go to like Home Depot and grab a kit. Like they're making all of this by hand.
Yeah, they can't order it from Shein and have it like delivered over.
There's no Amazon Prime
Yeah.
for penny arcades.
There's not even like a Joann's down the street that they can go buy fabrics from, or like
it's all
Michael's.
them. This is all them at this point. Like I said, so they're not generating a lot of models per year. It's maybe 4 at the most.
It's all handmade, yeah.
When they first took over in 1924, they made about $83,000 that year in today's money.
In today's adjusted for inflation. Okay.
Yeah. 10 years later, that grew to $170,000 a year.
Ooh.
And then another 10 years later, right around World War II, we're hitting like $310,000 a year. Because soldiers on leave would like come to these seaside resorts and want the entertainment.
That's awesome. Yeah. Are these, we call them penny arcades still at this time. Are they don't cost a penny though still, do they? Or are they charging more, I assume? They're still going for a penny.
Mm-hmm.
So when you break that down, like $300,000.
Yeah.
A penny at a time. That's an insane amount of plays.
And also probably why not a lot of them survive, because that's a lot of wear and tear.
It's a lot of wear and tear. It's amazing that they even lasted as long as they did.
Right. So yeah, there's one in particular I want to talk about that has recently been restored. There was a team of restoration artists who found this. It's called Murder in the Museum. And they completely rehauled like the electricity in it. They restored it to working order, and they tried to do it so that it was all like period accurate. And so Murder in the Museum exists still at the Abbey House Museum in England. And you can purchase a Victorian penny and like make it go.
Nice.
Which I will send you a link so you can watch it in action.
Yes.
And again, these are like 30 to 40 seconds of motion. So it's not long entertainment. It's a quick little, it's how much you would pay a penny.
That's way more than a penny will get you.
That's true.
A penny literally gets you nothing now. A penny just you will throw it in the trash. Like change is useless.
Yeah.
All right. So she puts the coin in. Oh my goodness. It looks like there's there's so much happening. Okay. So they're in a museum. There's like a mummy one that's like a giant red thing that looks like it's King Tut or something. Some weirdo is creeping out from behind the back. There's a bunch of, what are those, Buddhist statues on the top?
Mm-hmm.
The creepo pokes out again from behind the other side. Oh my God, is the mummy about to come out? Oh, that's the goat. He's pointing the finger. Is he like, you're the one who's going to die? Is there a cop? A cop's showing up? Oh, he's going to kill someone, obviously, right? Whoa, the chair is spinning. Alyssa, what is going on? I don't understand. This is so much chaos at once.
Let me break it down a little bit.
Who killed the man in the chair? Oh, the man in the chair is dead.
The man in the chair is dead.
See, immediately I'm putting in more money right now. I need to put in another penny.
First time.
Yeah.
Which I think was their intent. They're like, we need to make this so that people actually want to watch it. And there's enough detail for them to like want to watch it again.
It's so interesting.
Yeah. So each little figurine in this scene has their own little movements, which is pretty
Sorry, I just saw the guy with the gun. Was it a guy with a gun?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Sorry. I'm going to let you talk. I'm going to stop talking. Continue.
No, I'm so glad you like this.
I love it.
Yeah, so there's a man in the center of the room who's in a chair, and he is our victim. There's a woman in the corner who like takes a pocket watch out of her purse and checks the time. We've got, like you said, the guy kind of creeping behind the display case, just kind of popping out.
It's a weird peeping Tom guy.
Yeah, and then just a random couple kind of in the middle of the room. They look very well dressed.
Yeah. I don't like to make this reference, but one of them looks like he's the Phantom of the Opera, and then it's like some lady with like a giant fur coat.
He does, though. That cape is so ridiculous.
And he's wearing a tuxedo, I think. So he looks like the Phantom of the Opera.
He wore a tuxedo to the museum, so. Yeah,
that's right. All you musical splaining heads, that's right. I finally made a reference to a musical in this next podcast. I thought I could go without doing it, and here it is. Alyssa, you broke me finally of it.
Did it. And you referenced Les Mis earlier.
Oh, no, you're right. I did it twice. Oh!
I'm so sorry. You made it a long time without. It's okay. We're just gonna forget about that comparison. I promise none of these are musical. Not even a little bit.
Just delete the whole episode. We gotta start it over. No, I'm sorry. Continue.
Find a new tab.
Yeah, find a new tab, Alyssa. This is not acceptable. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
So you've got this kind of crew of people. And then, like you said, there's a sarcophagus in the corner.
Yeah.
And the door slowly opens and a man pops out and shoots the guy in the chair.
Oh, it's a gun. I thought he was pointing his finger. Okay. I see. I mean, it is. I'm not watching it too large. Also, I have my old 41-year-old eyes. Yeah.
It's pretty tiny. And then after he shoots, a policeman comes around the corner and is like, hey.
So the guy who shoots the gun, he doesn't shoot the guy in the chair, does he? Or is that you're meant to try and figure this out?
Right. So I feel like it's a little bit of a trick because when you first walk up, you don't know that there's somebody in the sarcophagus. And so you're like, okay, guy in the chair, dead. It could be anyone in this room. Who is it? Is it woman with pocket watch? Is it the creep in the display case?
Listen,
probably that.
I'm just going to lean into this. It was clearly the Phantom of the Opera because he is the murderer.
Established murderer.
with a rap sheet and everything. He's clearly the guy who killed him.
He came to the museum opening to kill.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. That's like what's supposed to be playing in the background of this Penny Arcade. Full fan servicing.
They're going to be so happy.
I have to go shower after this and wash it off.
Someday I'm going to ask you more about your musical opinions, but I'm letting you recover.
Maybe season two. I'll be like, it'll be enough of it'll be in the past and I'll be like, okay. It's still, the wounds are too fresh right now.
That was a different person.
I was a different person then, a different life.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So back to Murder in the Museum.
Yeah.
Like I said, this machine is it's really special in that like it's in working order now. You can still go see it. I actually found the blog of the people who did the restoration effort.
Nice. Oh, do they do process stuff?
Yeah. So they said, I think it's funny that you said you couldn't see a gun. And I wonder if the video was taken before that because the gun did go missing at some point, and the restoration team was like,
oh my God,
we have to make a tiny gun because it just looks like he's pointing at this guy. Like, it's not that exciting.
It's literally Chekhov's gun. They're like, we introduced it. Now it can't not be in there by the end. We have to reintroduce. We have to pay off the gun that's in there in the beginning.
You can't point someone to death. Like,
yeah. You could. I mean, you could just be like, I curse you, and then
that's true.
You die from a curse of some sort.
That's true. Okay. It could be a little more supernatural.
Yeah. You got to make sure that you share that link so I can put it in the show notes.
Absolutely.
So that people can see the process. I'd love to look at that too. Obviously, I won't look at it now because we're recording, but I'm fascinated to see that.
Yeah. It's cool. It's definitely on a blog from like the early 2000s.
Yeah, blogger.
You're just like, is this real? And then you're like, oh, yeah, it is. But it's on a forum called Penny Arcade Forum.
Okay.
So there's a whole world that I did not realize existed. So the restoration team said that while they were working on this, they were like, this is basically the Rolls Royce of the genre compared to other machines at the time, because everything is so intricate and everything is just like timed perfectly. And that was one of the biggest challenges of restoring it, was like, okay, this person has to move, and then the gun comes out, and then a light bulb goes off to do the flash of the gun. And then there's like a spring snaps to simulate the sound of a gun. And like all these have to work very well together in a small space. So they did have a hard time with it.
This is like, it feels like a small scale of something like, I don't know, like it's a small world almost.
Yeah.
No pun intended, of double small, but like it's all, you're meant to, when you reach a certain point in the ride, it does a certain action.
Yeah. It's very much.
Or Pirates of the Caribbean, basically. That's like,
kind of like the animatronic.
Larger. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I like to think that this was kind of the predecessor.
It's very, it feels very Disney, like predecessor to Disneyland. I'm sure Walt Disney saw this at some point and was like, these are awesome.
How do we make these into birds?
How do I make money off of this?
Yeah. Done. Yeah, pretty wild. I did think it was really funny. This museum that did the restoration is very proud of this machine, and they made a 15-minute short film based on it. It's hilarious.
Is it about the process of restoring it, or just like pretending that the thing, oh my God, I got to see that too?
It's pretending that the scene happened and like speculating what happened. And I will tell you, after like 2 minutes of watching this, I was like, no wonder that guy got shot.
Oh,
he was being
everyone
awful.
hated him. Oh no, it's like whatchamacallit. Which one was it? Hercule Poirot.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah.
Which I forget which one is that. It's like everyone was the Everyone, they couldn't figure out who the suspect was. It turns out everyone
it was
killed
like
him.
Murder on the
Orient Express.
Yes. I was like, it
Yes.
could be any of them because he was being a jerk to all of them.
Huge dick. Totally deserved to die.
Huge dick. Only one sitting down, complaining about things running late,
Shh.
being so
Dickhead.
mean. So
Never
when he
worked in the
finally
service industry. Has no idea what's happening
None.
behind the scenes.
Is mad that a woman is giving a presentation at one point.
Oh, he's a misogynist too.
Yeah. Just the worst.
Terrible.
So when
Deserves to die.
Yeah, it's what I was like, oh, I'm not that bummed out about this anymore. Murder solved.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll include that too. It's they stretched 40 seconds into 15 minutes, so it's long.
Listen, that's basically this podcast, but stretched to like an hour and a half.
It's true. I read this article, and here I am.
3 minutes stretched out to an hour and 45.
Listen, people seem to stick around for it.
Thank you for continuing to stick around.
Yeah.
Audience.
We appreciate you. So yeah, that is Murder in the Museum. That was one of their big ones. And like I said, they worked through the end of World War II, basically. And then in 1944, the Dennison sisters decide it's time for us to sell. We're ready to like enjoy the rest of our lives, kind of a leisure. And we're kind of done with the business. And so they end up selling all of their machines to the Blackpool Tower. And from there, the company kind of disperses them around the world. And they largely disappear. Like, a lot of them fall into disrepair. A lot of them...
Lame.
We don't know where they went. But when they do resurface, they are major collector items now because they are so rare. And, like, machines at that point have started to be more mass-produced, less intricate. So finding these machines is really special because they're so unique. And one thing I thought was annoying and why I wanted to focus on the Dennison sisters is that all the models they make, like half the time, are attributed to their dad.
Okay.
So they're very much kind of swept under the rug.
That's lame.
It'll be like, this is a John Dennison piece from 1940. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Is it?
He died.
You're like, I know he liked morbid things, but he didn't come back from the dead and make these things.
Right. Give credit.
16 years after his death or 20 years after his death. That's pretty lazy. That's
right?
The bare amount of reporting.
They were just like, Dennison, probably that John guy.
Probably that John guy. Women can't do mechanics.
Women aren't engineers.
Yeah. How are they going to make one of these penny arcades when they're in the kitchen?
With no pennies.
With no pennies. They don't even, how do they get a penny? They don't even work.
We didn't give it to them. So yeah, like I said, major collector items. The last one I found that sold went for about $36,000.
Oh, wow.
And that was like in 2016, I want to say.
Okay.
So, yeah, they are very cool when people do come across them. But and collectors like definitely know their significance. Yeah, that's the sisters kind of take a step back from public life. And Florence, like I said, is the one who donates her notebooks and like her financial records to the museum before she dies. And so it's kind of the only evidence we have now that of all the work they did.
That's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, that is the Dennison sisters and their contribution to the penny arcade. I just thought it was really cool, and I loved seeing the models and amazing detail.
Incredible.
I will keep sending you stuff.
Yeah. I was going to say, is this something where they can just go, the audience can go do a quick Google search of Penny Arcade Dennison sisters or something like that? Or
they can, and they'll probably find mostly pictures from Murder in the Museum because it is, like I said, the best restored one that we have. So I just sent you a few.
Yeah. Oh man, that sarcophagus is so cool. It kind of almost looks like an old-timey Coca-Cola fridge too.
It does.
It's like bright red.
They're like, can we just repurpose this?
I can think of like 4 people off the top of my head that I know who would personally be obsessed with this and try and make something like this. Yeah. That's living in LA, like, and being being within the film industry for
and
you.
And being around creative people who are good at making this stuff.
Yep. I know at least a couple people that would just be like, I'm going to do this now.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Eveline, she was the art school one. She
Yeah, the youngest, right?
yeah, she really was like, I want these to feel more like fine scale miniatures than like small versions of the things. So there's like a whole classification of what makes a fine scale miniature versus just like a small reproduction. And so she really strove to like get those details in and make sure they were accurate and to scale. And I think it shows. Cool. Like you can, it's really gorgeous. And Alice, the dressmaker, said that it was challenging to like make the clothes so that they looked good when they were moving.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to make them stationary, but then
you gotta give them room.
Yeah. So like designing for
this jacket needs a raglan cut. You can't just do a standard jacket on this.
It's a good raglan cut mention. Good job.
Been waiting until 37 episodes to slip in a raglan cut reference.
Finally
the appropriate time.
Today was the day. I feel like that kind of, I hope that wasn't too short, but that was my tab. That was...
No, you went, it was perfect amount of time, actually.
Was it good? Okay.
It was fantastic. Thank you, Alyssa. That was wonderful. I really, really enjoyed seeing those. And I'm looking forward to watching the 15-minute doc, like the fake whodunit.
I will warn you, it is a silent film. Like there's no sound and they just have title cards in it.
Even better. I can watch it on the couch while somebody else is watching something. I don't have to disrupt them because I'm not a monster who plays speakerphone really loud while other people are doing things.
Those people can be burned. I
agree.
I can't.
Take you and put you in the guillotine and chop your heads off. That's we should make that one. We should make like this, what was the title of the guillotine one? It was the French Revolution.
The French execution.
Yeah, so this should be like the speakerphone execution. So it's like somebody who gets their head chopped off with a guillotine while their phone's playing something on speakerphone, and then it like falls into the basket, and then someone picks it up and then breaks the phone or something. I don't know.
And they're like, "You're welcome, society."
Yeah. People would pay money to watch someone's head get chopped off for being on speakerphone. So loud. I hate them. No, but that was fantastic. Thank you. That was excellent.
Of course. Thanks.
Hannah is going to be so annoyed that she didn't get to see this. She's going to be super jealous. Yes.
That was all I actually really wanted was
you. With flying colors. I'm not just saying that.
Oh, thank you. That's kind. That was my deep dive into the... Oh, and like I said, I did try to find them on Ancestry.com because I was like, I want to know more about these sisters. I want to know like what they did after, or did they ever marry? Did they ever have families? It kind of seems like they didn't, but again...
Dedicated their life to it.
Yeah, they were really committed to the craft.
Okay. God bless them. Salute
to the Dennison sisters. And I'm psyched to hear what you have.
Thank you. Okay, so my tab, it's fall now. It's officially fall. Summer's over. I can finally apply my pumpkin spice beard oil, which is a thing that exists.
Do you have that?
I don't have it. No, I'm not a monster. But it's a joke.
I wasn't going to yuck your yum.
Please don't use pumpkin spice beard oil. That's just die. That's another one. Just no more pumpkin spice. Guillotine. Fall also means that it's closer to the election. Yay. Yeah. In the notes I wrote, hold for groans. And once again, it's entirely too close and it makes me angry. And you know how everyone's always threatening to move to Canada? They're always like, if Trump gets elected, I'm going to move to Canada. That's it. I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a popular line.
Yeah. No one ever does, of course.
No.
And I always wondered, like, what is their plan exactly when they go? Because I don't think people really think past that. Like, how do you make money?
Have you ever had this thought of like, I'll just move to a different country?
I mean, I've considered the thought. I mean, I've had the thought, and then I've sort of continued the thought, and then been like, "There's no option for me."
You've done more work than most people.
Yes, I've looked into it at different points, not necessarily just because of like a fascist dictator taking over, but also just, I'm not necessarily tied to the idea of having to stay in the U.S. forever. It'd be like, it'd be fun if New Zealand would hire me for some sort of work. I'd go live in New Zealand for a few years. I'd go live in wherever. Like, I'm not opposed to any of that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my Iranian citizenship provides me nothing in terms of like being more favorable to go anywhere else.
No advantage.
No advantage whatsoever. So whatever, it doesn't matter. But I always think, like, when you go to Canada, like, what are you really going to do? And the first thing I thought of was, like, I guess you would just be, like, a maple syrup producer or something. Like, maybe that sounds nice.
It does sound nice. Probably smells good.
Probably smells good. But, hey, guess what? Apparently, that shit sucks and is super duper regulated.
What? It's not cozy and lovely?
No.
Okay.
That's not just my American bias. Apparently, people in Canada, a lot of them think it sucks too.
Oh.
Especially some of the producers themselves. And they thought it sucked so much that in the year 2012, a small group of them got together and stole 540,000 gallons of maple syrup over the course of a year, worth $18 million.
What? It's a lot of waffles.
Yep.
Oh my God. Okay. All right.
They would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for those pesky kids.
I knew that they were involved.
Sorry.
Okay. Incredible. Okay, I can't wait for this.
So, come with me, eh?
Yeah.
As I regale you. I've got my spiced apple. I'm wearing my flannel. I tried to dress Canadian today. It's
honestly,
it's
warm.
It's good.
It's so warm, dude. You said it was fall, but
it's fall, but it doesn't feel like fall.
I had to turn off my air conditioning.
Fire,
yeah. I want to die. It's so hot.
So come with me as I regale you with the tale of the great Canadian maple syrup heist.
Oh, I mean, I'm on board. Here we go.
You're on board. What makes maple syrup different from your store-bought cheapo stuff like Aunt Jemima? Do you know?
I'm guessing it doesn't have high fructose corn syrup in it.
That's correct.
Oh, sweet. I was just guessing.
No, that's right. Yeah, it's not. Okay. If you're a Yank, you just assume that it's all the same. But no, because everything that's sugar is corn syrup in this country. When you go north, that's not the case. It's actually sap from maple trees.
As God intended.
As God intended. How do they get that sap out?
If my TikTok videos that I watch.
Oh, you watch TikTok videos on how they get sap out of trees?
If it's any indication, do they like hammer like it looks like a straw thing and like the sap comes out?
Yes. That's how they used to do it, actually. That was originally how it was. Also, back in the old days, it was strictly halal, where a Muslim had to perform the slaughter in the appropriate ritual manner, with the tree's throat being cut by a sharp knife, severing the carotid artery, jugular vein, and windpipe in a single swipe, and then all the sap had to be drained out of the tree carcass. But that's not how they do it anymore, because every day we stray further and further from God.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah. That's actually, no, that's true. I made all that up. But
I thought it was.
Yes, it's not actually halal. That's a total
I believed you 100%.
It's a thing called sap tubing, and I'm sending you some pictures right now.
Sap tubing.
Sap tubing.
It sounds like a snowboarding move.
It's exactly what you would think if you think about sap tubing.
Weird. This looks like someone put like hamster tubes all around the forest.
See, my brain goes, it almost looks like they're trying to inject like adamantium into the trees and turn them into like Weapon X, aka Wolverine, who's a very famous Canadian.
That's true.
Do you remember that scene in the Weapon X movie?
I don't, but I can see it.
There's also a very famous, I think it's Barry Windsor Smith who did the book. I don't quote me. I'm pretty sure it's Barry Windsor Smith who did the Wolverine, but the Weapon X book about how they turned Logan into Wolverine because he had the claws, but he didn't have the adamantium in his skeleton. So the government basically sticks it all and injects it into his body, and then he's got all these crazy tubes coming from him. I went comic book when I thought about it. Anyway, I just want to talk about Wolverine.
You went way more not realistic, but
that's always how it's more insane. Yeah.
Morbid.
Yeah, morbid. And so then I was thinking about like a tree Wolverine who's got like adamantium inside of him, and it's like got healing power, kind of like a cross between Wolverine and Treebeard.
Man, I kind of wish all trees had that.
Me too. I mean, they do in some level, but you know, poor tree Wolverine's physical wounds may heal, but his emotional scars never will.
They're forever. And ironic how Logan ends, which I won't say, but
yeah, he turns into a tree, actually, into a maple tree. He turns into
Treebeard. Yeah. In case you haven't seen it.
Spoiler alert. Anyways, it's wacky, right? It's totally crazy. And these tubes that are all plugged into it, like you said, it looks like pipes, like under a house, like plumbing.
Yeah, or like somebody's really silly straw.
Yes. So these tubes, They drain it. They transfer the sap directly from the trees into the nearby sugar shack, which, yes, that's the actual name.
I don't know if that's great.
Listen, they're Canadian.
They got the alliteration. I can appreciate that. Okay.
Sugar shack, baby, sugar shack. I like the B-52s.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
It almost works.
It's almost a good joke, but not quite. Now, in these sugar shacks, it goes into these giant tanks where they go through reverse osmosis, which is basically making it super concentrated by sifting out all of like the water and extra stuff. And then that concentrated pure shit is heated up and browned. And the next thing you know, you got yourself some pure grade Quebecois maple syrup.
Ooh, okay. They sell it for prime money, I'm guessing.
Prime cash. Actually, one interesting fact before we get into all that that I thought was interesting is the sap's character is different depending on how late in the season you milk the tree's nipples to get it out.
I'm learning so much about trees.
Adamantium, nipples, all kinds of stuff.
Who knew? It's amazing.
So if you get the sap out earlier in the season, it's lighter, but if you wait later in the season, it becomes darker.
Interesting. And they taste different?
They do. There's 4 classes of maple syrup: golden, amber, dark, and very dark.
They kind of lost steam at the end.
Yeah, they're just like, very dark, sure.
Dark. So this one's darker. Very dark.
I sent you a picture of it. You can take a look. So it's like yellow, orangey, and then like brown almost.
Oh, this would be a great gift set.
It would be, actually. Yeah. I was thinking it's a lot like beer.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks.
There's amber, dark, golden.
IPA.
IPA. So I was like, it makes me think there's undoubtedly like an insufferable class of bearded Canadian guy who only consumes very dark syrup and has made it his entire personality.
I guarantee that exists.
Yeah.
I guarantee that exists in America.
Oh, like a very dark syrup guy?
Yeah. I only drink very dark syrup from Canada.
Oh.
Yeah.
Please. Guillotine.
They exist. Guillotine.
Guillotine in the Penny Arcade. That was just a little bit of fun facts about how maple syrup's made. I thought that was fun and interesting. Unsurprisingly, since we're dealing with trees and crops, maple syrup production can vary from year to year because it's based on the trees. So if it's too hot or cold, the yield will change. Some years you'll get a shit ton, and other years you'll get jack shit. Those are the 2 scales: shit ton or jack shit.
There's no middle.
There's no middle. And maple syrup is a very big industry that makes a lot of money for our neighbors in the north. So in 2022, Canadian exports of maple products amounted to $616 million. So more than $500 million.
Whoa.
Just for maple syrup.
So the stereotype kind of exists for a reason then.
I mean, it's literally on the flag. Yeah, they put the leaf there. It's like a whole thing. It's like
they're proud of it.
They're proud of it. It's their deal.
Yeah.
It makes them a good chunk of change. It's pretty much the only place. I forgot to write down the number, but it's something like 93% of syrup or maple syrup, like all comes from from like Quebec and from Canada in general.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah. So you got to make sure that the money keeps flowing because there's like a whole industry and, like you said, like national pride about it. You can't mess around with it. The Maple Boys all got together and they came up with a plan.
The Maple Boys. Yes.
In 19 yeah, right. Maple Boys with a giant leaf on the back. I would wear that actually.
That sounds awesome.
Damn it. I keep coming up with merch. It's the worst.
I know. It's easy to do, hard to make.
It. Yeah, hard to make, easy to come up with.
Yeah.
And it'll probably just go to what was the dad's name again? I forgot his name.
John Dennison.
John Dennison will probably get credit for making that jacket, even though I was the one who came up with it. Because everything goes back to credit to John Dennison.
He made everything, and you're just lucky to be one of his daughters.
Excellent raglan cut Maple Boys jacket, John Dennison.
Yes. You nailed it, John.
So in 1966, they founded the Federation of Maple Syrup Producers, which sadly does not tie into Star Trek, but a boy can dream.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday they'll incorporate that into one of the shows.
That'd be amazing.
Together, the producers establish policies, negotiate their selling strategy, and enforce production quotas. So it's basically like OPEC, except with maple syrup.
So they've taken the fun out of maple syrup.
They've taken the fun out of maple syrup. I like to call it OSEP, if you will, which is Organization of the Syrup Exporting Producers.
That's a
Not
way
the
better
official
name.
name, but that's what I called it. Yeah, instead of the Federation, which makes me confused and think I'm on Star Trek. But
yeah, I like OSEP. It's better.
OSEP's much more fun. It's controversial, but it's not necessarily a bad thing when you sort of break down why it's there. So it's not uncommon amongst growers and farmers and whatnot to do this kind of thing. So everyone gets together and to decide we're only going to have like 10 million gallons a year of syrup to go out, and the market's set. That's like the sort of annual number they came up with. And if one year they collectively produce 20 million gallons, that extra 10 mil is taken and put into the Global Strategic Reserve of Maple Syrup.
I was like, is there extra?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It's basically their Fort Knox. And they bank it and they save it till the next year or like a couple of years because the maple syrup will last.
And like you said, they can't really predict if it's going to be a good yield.
Exactly. Yeah. You have no way of knowing because it depends on the weather. Also, by the way, side conspiracy, Canadian banks are all going to collapse because they no longer use a currency backed by maple syrup. So get ready for that. Take all your money out of the banks because they don't back it with syrup.
I have to go. Unrelated.
So maybe the following year, everyone only produces 5 million gallons, right?
Okay.
And then you're like, shit, we haven't hit the quota of 10 million, but no problem. You just bust out 5 mil from the reserves that you saved the year before and everything's Gucci. Markets stay stable. There's no supply chain shortage or whatever. Yeah. There's no like syrup inflation, any of that kind of crap. It is on paper, at least, like a very prudent thing to do. And it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I'm here for it.
Yeah, but not everyone likes to be prudent. They're not into it.
I imagine.
Some people, they want to be in charge of their own destiny. And they worked hard and they got more sap. They don't want to turn it over to OSEP, like some sort of OSAP.
Okay, that was very well done.
Thank you. The American way of thinking starts to seep in.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Like, they're like, you're not the king of England. Get your damn hands off my syrup, you syrup. I don't know. Some syrup producers have been known to sling barrels of syrup that, quote, fell off the back of the truck on the black market, which I assume is like the Best Buy parking lot, but...
It has to be.
Yeah.
It's Trader Joe's.
It's Trader Joe's, and they're like, listen, all you dumpster divers, come in the back. I got you some syrup. Grade A.
Very dark.
Laced with pumpkin because it's the fall.
We know you Americans love it.
But the Federation does not play at all. If you're even suspected of doing something like that, they'll send bodyguards to watch your area 24/7, like you and your sugar shacks, and you have to pay for them.
What? This is so serious.
Oh, it's not a joke. It's insane. Okay. You can also get randomly inspected or audited. Like they'll just show up and be like, show me all your receipts. Show me all the records for this. What's the deal here? It's kind of like they keep referring to it as like a cartel.
This is wild. For syrup.
Just for syrup.
This is very intense.
Yeah, you got to always have your ducks in a row. There's literally... This feels more strict than the Iran nuclear deal, honestly. It just feels like totally over the top.
Yeah, I think that was maybe less security. Damn.
They're like, meanwhile, we got we're enriching uranium, and they're like, they're not interested in that. Do you have syrup that you're selling on the black market?
That's fine. I smell some maple.
That's what's dangerous.
Ooh.
So... tension has been boiling over since like the early 2000s, and shit's been getting more and more tense between the producers and the Federation. Again, not Star Trek.
Every time. The stuff that goes into the surplus, like the people who produce, is it just like all at that point divvied up among everyone?
You're saying in terms of how it gets sold? That's a good question. Yeah. I don't know, actually.
Like, are they seeing the profits if their company produced more than the other, or does it literally go into a big, I assume, barrel, and they're like, no, this is ours now, and we will release it.
You know what?
Profit off of it.
I don't actually know in terms of how it's divvied up amongst. I don't know if like each producer is expected. Maybe each producer is like, okay, you can give us. I'm guessing, totally guessing here. I have no idea, but I wonder if it's something like, depending on the size of your land and what your average yield is and how much. Okay. You could just be like, okay, I usually produce like whatever 10 barrels a year, and then they'll be like, okay, so we're expecting you, but if you do 12 barrels, I actually don't know. That's a really good question. I didn't get into that aspect of it.
That's okay.
If you guys know who are listening, please go ahead and send it to us at 500opentabs@gmail.com if you have information. So the producers are getting pissed. They're getting like "Don't tread on me" maple leaf tattoos. They're reading a lot of Ayn Rand. They're believing in objectivism.
Oh, no.
And they're like, "I'll be master of my own destiny." And then there's a revolt. And there's like footage of them being like, so there's these inspectors going to look at like one dude's thing, like his sugar shack. And then all of a sudden all these other ones show up and they're like, "Get away. Like, you can't come in here and inspect." Like standing, like they're doing protests.
Oh my gosh.
They're like,
Okay.
"Eat shit. We're going to rally together and block you." It gets nuts, yeah. And at one point, 3 different Federation leaders had their sugar shacks burned down in the span of 2 weeks.
Bird down. Woo. They're not
There's
playing.
There's no proof. They couldn't figure out who did it, so it's not necessarily a person who was one of the producers, but mighty suspicious.
It seems pretty coincidental that would happen.
Whack attack.
Yeah. Okay.
Very, very sus, as they would say.
Very sus.
On the morning of July 30th, 2012, an accountant named Michel Javreau arrived at the Strategic Reserve to do the Federation's annual inventory check-in. This part was funny because apparently the barrels are all stacked super high and they're so heavy from the syrup that everyone just climbs them like a tree. And
Amazing.
I'm going to send you a picture of what they look like.
Okay.
Have you watched all of Breaking Bad?
I've watched half of it.
Half of it? Okay.
Yeah. I get about halfway through season 3 and then I get sad.
It's sad. I just mean like if you have seen it, it's like the methylamine and like the labs that they have with like all this crazy. It's just like that's what it looks like. It looks like it's something out of Breaking Bad.
It doesn't look real. It looks like you like copy and pasted a bunch of white barrels in like a 3D software. That's all syrup.
That's all syrup.
Wow. Okay.
It looks like the end of Indiana Jones where they're like
does.
in the thing, but just it's all syrup instead of the Ark of the Covenant. So they're super heavy too. So each one of them weighs about 600 pounds when they have all of the syrup in them. So when Michel's there, he's doing his inventory, right? Just like standard, whatever. I'm just checking them. It's annual, just making sure stuff's here, whatever, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
And he goes to climb and like go to like, I don't know, like one of the top ones. And one of the barrels slips out from underneath his feet and he just slips and eats shit and he falls over.
And this is supposed to be a 600-pound barrel.
Exactly. He's just like, what the hell?
Okay.
So he opens it up and it's empty. There's nothing in it.
Oh, he's just like, what? Something hinky is happening here.
Something's not right, eh?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Canada. I'm sorry, Canada.
Sorry.
Are you mad at me? Please don't be mad at me.
They're so mad.
They're so mad at us. I'm sorry. I apologize. Anyway, and it's empty, right? But not just that one. A bunch more of them. So he goes to his bosses at the Federation and he's like, what's going on here? Do you guys know about this? Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, what? And so an investigation begins. And suddenly, like, syrup cops show up. Bunch of Mounties on, like, mooses. They fly in like Celine Dion and like William Shatner to help with the investigation and like other leading Canadians. All hands are on deck.
Amazing. Their badges all have like maple leaves on them and like.
It's a big deal. I think it's like, if I'm not mistaken, it's like one of the biggest investigations like in Canadian police history. And certainly in Quebec, it's like the biggest thing that's ever happened because it's a lot of money. And that's like their biggest industry.
Part of me is like, I'm glad that this is like their historical note, that it's not something that's like way worse, but I don't know.
Oh, right. Like genocide or like
okay. This
we sold arms to the Nazis.
This could be a lot worse. It's syrup.
It's true. It's true. Syrup's not that. It's a good one to be proud of too.
Yeah.
So the investigation begins.
Okay.
And they question over 200 people, which eventually led to a dozen and change arrests. This pipeline was vast. The night watchman guy was in on it. There's like a truck driver that's in on it. There's all these different people that were part of the operation.
Oh my gosh.
But it basically came down to 3 main dudes. First up, Richard Valliere. He was the ringleader.
Valliere.
Valliere. Might as well do it again. He's like Jean Valjean. Richard Jean Valjean.
Just you're full of them this time. Get them all out in this episode.
So that when Hannah comes back, she's just going to be like, what? I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I never did this.
That didn't happen.
So Richard, old Dick, he's known as what you would call a barrel roller. Barrel roller, Dick Valliere.
Okay,
So
incredible.
You know how we all got that like one low-key kind of criminal cousin, right? He's your cousin and you love him and he sort of has like a moral compass around the family, but like the times between the holiday gatherings, you have no idea what kind of like questionable shit he's up to.
Yeah. You don't even know what state they're in.
You don't even know what he's doing, but then he shows up at Thanksgiving and he's like, hey, it's so nice to see you. You love him because you grew up together.
Yeah. It's great to see him. You just don't need to know any other details.
Yeah. His heart's sort of in the right place, but he's also not at all. I don't know. It's debatable.
Yeah.
That's this guy. That's Valliere.
Valliere is the cousin. Okay.
So old
just like
Dick,
a little bit shady.
This guy's very shady based on what the laws are, but he kind of sees himself as like a Robin Hood type character almost. Old Dick, he's slinging black market rup, like syrup. Rup.
Oh my God. Did you come up with that shortening?
I thought I did. I don't know. It might have been something that's on the internet before, but it's
great.
Thank you. The rup.
Yeah, the rup.
He's slanging it to a guy named Etienne Saint-Pierre, who
so French.
It was a syrup exporter based out of Ottawa. Okay, so he's like Art Vandelay, a reference no one under 35 will get. But,
I got it.
Yeah, he wants to focus less on the importing and then adjust more to the exporting.
Yes, it's our second Seinfeld reference in like 2 weeks. That's great.
Yeah, I'm so glad you got it.
Oh, I love Seinfeld.
That's his job. But he's doing a different thing over in Ottawa. He's just exporting. He's not doing anything illegal at this time necessarily. That's just like his business.
Okay.
Because Ottawa has got a different, which I'll get into. So, and lastly, there's Avic Caron, who's a man with ties to the mob who owned the warehouse. So this is, again, I wasn't able to figure this out in time. I'm not sure how much more deep I would have to get to it. But I guess all the Federation syrup isn't stored in one area necessarily. Like there's not one main building where it always lives.
Okay.
At least not in the case for this specific robbery. So in 2011, the Federation approaches Caron and they're like, can we use your warehouse for storing them? And Caron's like, hell yeah, baby. Just store as much as you want here. Let's do it. I don't know why, but I don't know if it's overflow. I think I got the impression that it was most of it, but maybe it was overflow of the overflow. I don't know.
Maybe it's safety precaution.
Yeah.
They can't have, all of their goods in one spot.
Yeah, that would be smart if they did that, but
yeah,
maybe not. Although I don't know how flammable maple syrup is. Maybe it's highly flammable. I haven't looked into it.
Or it's highly stealable. And
it's highly stealable, certainly. Yeah, more questions than answers as we go further into this case. Essentially, this is how it goes down. This is how it gets stolen, and it's not all at once. Don't forget. Over the course of that year, the crew got a batch of barrels that were nearly identical to the Federation ones stored in Caron's warehouse. Okay. And these were, think of them as the dummy barrels, complete with corresponding inventory stickers with barcodes and all that crap, just in case someone from the Federation happened to come by and was just like looking through.
Okay, this is smart.
Yeah. So they got decoy barrels. They'd go and they'd take their decoy barrels and they'd temporarily swap them out with the Federation barrels, like the actual ones that have the maple syrup ones. And they would take the Federation barrels to a nearby warehouse. And there they would siphon all of the syrup out of the Federation barrels into a third kind of like normie looking non-Federation style barrel.
Okay.
Because you don't want to draw suspicion if you have the Federation barrel, the one that looks like a Federation barrel. So it's like, let's just say it's like a red barrel for the sake of the story.
Right.
After those get emptied, the Federation barrels, meaning the original ones with the syrup, they took those barrels to a nearby creek and filled them with creek water so they wouldn't be empty, and then brought them back to the warehouse and returned them to their original spots in the stacks, and then took back their dummy Federation ones and left.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is the perfect crime.
You got it? So it's 3 barrels. There's the
3 barrels.
Federation barrel, there's the decoy barrel, and then there's like the normie, whatever, red one, where the Federation barrels maple syrup ended up going into.
The profit barrel.
That's called the profit barrel, even better. Now, because the Federation controls the sale of syrup in Quebec, they can't do anything with them there. So they took the profit barrel, they took all the gooey goo across the border to New Brunswick, where it was no longer under their jurisdiction. So they're smuggling the oil in these profit barrels in the heat of the night to another area where there's freedom.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, they were smart about this.
They were pretty smart. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah. They got caught, but
and then when they got caught, you're like, it's not very smart. But once they got to New Brunswick, they packaged it into smaller batches, and then it was handed off and sold to both legitimate buyers like Etienne, who was over in Ottawa, amongst other people, and also to black market exporters. So, and then from there it goes into like the US, some of it's in Canada. I want to say that it was somewhere in East Asia, maybe China is where it goes. I can't remember, or Japan, one of those countries in East Asia. I forget where it went, but there's only like a couple places that it went to. Now, the haul was big, and they do it all at once, because remember, each time it's like 600 pounds.
Yeah.
At least.
That's a lot to...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Assuming however many barrels that they do at a time. And, this thing takes a while, so they got to take it and empty it. I don't imagine that transferring syrup is a very quick process.
It's not known to be a quick liquid.
No. And then you turn it upside down, and then you got to leave it to make sure each one of the last drops of it come out.
The handle's all sticky. You're like, this
yeah. Oh, that's the worst.
That's the worst part of it.
So they're doing it over the course of a year, months and months, and they're thinking, okay, they're making money. It's going well. They're paying off, whoever, like I said, the night guard, Billy Bob, the night guard. He's chilling. He's in on it now. So during the day, he's working for the Federal. Yeah. You ever put maple syrup on cheese curds? They're so delicious.
Okay, but like that might be something.
Maybe you might have invented that too today by accident.
Yeah, I could see that being a thing, like the sweet and the savory.
It could work. You put a little hot sauce on it too, or just like some peppers. Give it a little. You gotta have the sweet, spicy, and the salty. That's usually the key. Yeah,
it's kind of like putting like honey on cheese, but
yeah, or like pizza. Yeah. A lot of people put hot honey on cheese now. That's a big thing.
Oh, yeah, good
it's
stuff.
Basically just the same thing. You put maple syrup poutine.
I'm gonna go put some maple syrup on my mac and cheese tonight.
Listen, those of you who are listening, show us your pictures of maple syrup on whatever weird food that you've eaten. Post it in the Discord. So anyway, it's trickling out, no pun intended, like a sap. Basically, like you said, it's a pretty smart way of doing it. Mm-hmm. It's pretty clever in terms of how they pulled it off, but they foolishly left behind a couple of clues that would lead the investigators to figure out who was behind it and catch them. First up, the creek water that they put into the barrels that they swapped out. Remember, the decoy barrels were put there, and then they filled the real barrels with water so that it had weight in it.
Okay. I'm guessing that the creek water, like they were able to like find out what creek it was from.
Yes. So first of all, they figured out it was creek water because it's a bunch of creek water and it started to rust the barrel.
Oh.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
If you look at those barrels, they're all like pristine. They're perfectly white because as far as I know, syrup doesn't like rust things.
Right. It's not corrosive.
Yeah, it's not corrosive. So they're kind of like, okay, is there somewhere nearby that like there's a creek maybe that someone could have done?
Interesting.
Like, so it's sort of, they're like, okay, they would have to go to like a warehouse maybe like to do this. They wouldn't be doing it here. Mm-hmm. Again, because to them it was like, well, this is a convenient thing. We'll just go to this creek that's right by our warehouse, fill it up with water, pop it in, and you're trying to do it as quickly as you can without being sloppy, which unfortunately they were. The crucial turning point of the case. Do you want to know what it was?
Yes.
You want to take a guess what you might think would the detail be? You wouldn't guess it.
The turning point of the case where they like finally found these three.
Or how they led to what clue they figured out that led them to them.
They left a giant sign saying Etienne was here. I don't know. I've got nothing.
They forgot to take off their Maple Bro jackets and someone just left it at the reserve. No, I'm kidding.
Rookie mistake.
Rookie mistake. No. The crucial turning point of the case was the forklift.
Okay.
So these Federation barrels are moved by a very specific forklift that clamps onto the barrel in a very specific way that I don't really understand. But what matters is it does not leave any scratches on the barrels.
Yeah, because they, like you said, were pristine.
They're pristine. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
So they start to look at these ones that are covered. So there's your regular, wear and tear of them having been taken out and like had water put in them and they're rusting and whatever and all that crap. Uh-huh. But they notice that the sides of the barrels have like very specific marks in like two specific places. And they're like, they did not move these with the forklift that we have here, which again, I don't know what the deal is, like where that forklift lives, but I guess maybe they figured it was a bad idea to try and use the real forklift that was like approved.
We might leave fingerprints.
I don't know what the deal is, but
they had some sort of logic.
Yeah, exactly. And the forklift that they used put spots in a very specific place on the barrels. So from there, they were like, okay, what model of forklift would fit onto this specific barrel and have the spots, or have it like rub and wear down in this specific area of the barrel?
Okay.
And it's like the whatever P27 32,000 something or other, a 2010 model, whatever the shit it might be.
Right.
So they kind of do this forensic-y thing, and they figured out, they're like, okay, it's this specific forklift.
Okay.
And then from there, they're like, okay, well, who has rented forklifts over the past year of this specific model in the area? Within like a 20-mile radius or something. I'm not sure exactly how much it was, but and then from there, they found a name, and from that name, the rest of the house of cards fell.
Incredible detective work.
It's actually pretty impressive that it's
I love
that specific. Yeah.
Yeah. You hope that that's like what forensics can do, and like you can get those deductions, but you never actually think that's going to be likely.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's like, that's some pretty hardcore shit there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Because it's not like there's blood, right? There's no like murder victim. It's just like someone stole a bunch of maples. How the shit do you figure that out? Apparently the forklift.
The forklift did it.
It's always the forklift. Yeah. It was the forklift with the maple syrup
in the
master bedroom.
In the sugar shack.
In the sugar shack, yes.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they went and tracked him down. So in the end, Richard Valliere was sentenced in April 2017 to 8 years in prison plus a $7 million fine, with an extension to 14 years if the fine is not paid.
Whoa. That's significant.
That's not a joke.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Avic Caron, who owned the warehouse, was sentenced to 5 years in prison, plus, I believe it's a $900,000 fine.
Okay, all right. Still bad.
Yeah, still not good. Etienne Saint-Pierre was sentenced to 2 years in jail minus 1 day, which I don't understand what that's all about, but this must be some Canadian thing. Followed by 3 years of probation and an $800,000 fine. The thing that's interesting about him to me is that he was operating outside of the jurisdiction of the Federation, because he's in Ottawa. He's not he doesn't have that problem.
Yeah, he's not like looped into that.
Yeah. So I think he could have I think he was trying to just be like, I don't know where it came from. What do I give a shit? I'm just selling maple syrup to some guy who gave it to me, but they're like, you can't do that. And it like went out of jurisdiction and blah, blah, blah. It's wild. It's really like, it's very interesting to see it, because I understand it from both sides of the argument.
Yeah, yeah.
I could 100% understand being pissed off and just being like, I don't care what a bunch of bureaucrats are going to do to like set the price of this. And like, if I want to make a bunch of money, I should be able to make a bunch of money. And I don't want to have these people hauling over me and telling me what to do. And I hate the King of England and all that. Like, I fully get that part of it. And I should be able to sell it how I want.
Right. Yeah. This is my syrup.
This is my syrup. I grew it. I did all the work. What the hell are you going to do? You can come take it from me. Eat shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get it. I feel like
totally get it.
That would not go well here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely not. You would not be able, I mean, unless they would subsidize it in the case of corn, is what we were talking about earlier, which is interesting.
That's true. Yeah.
But I also get the idea that they're like, hey, this entire industry could collapse with one bad year, so let's do our best to regulate it. Maybe there's some sort of middle ground between the two. I don't know, but
yeah, because like they're trying to keep this longevity, and that makes total sense. Dang,
especially because it's such like a, as you pointed out earlier, like it's a point of national pride. You kind of can't. It's not like a thing that they could just be like, all right, cool, now there's no more syrup. It's like, who are we as, like, what's your national identity when that goes away?
Well, and like you said, they supplied what was it, like in the 90%?
It was like 90% or something. Yeah.
Of the world's syrup. So
yeah.
if they have a bad year, then the world has a bad breakfast year.
Exactly. Yeah. IHOP goes under. There's too many people that are sucking on the teat of the Federation of Maple Syrup in in Quebec.
We need that maple syrup.
It's very important. So, a lot of people hate the Federation. People in the Federation are like, it's necessary. I don't know. Jury's out. It's up to you, dear listener, in terms of where you stand on the matter.
Yeah, but, are you pro-Federation or?
Listen, we're just here to deliver the facts, which I don't even do that correctly, but
we try. We do our best.
We try. Fun fact: there is a documentary on Netflix. The show is called Dirty Money, I believe, and they do an episode on it. I did watch it for research, and it's really funny because it's like I don't mean to laugh because it's a lot of money, obviously, and it's a big point of pride. But it just sounds silly because they're just talking about something you put on your pancakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Again, there are worse things for your country to be known for. There are worse crimes.
Yeah, and also this guy, the what's his name? He's not trafficking drugs, right? Valliere is like. It's syrup. I mean, he stole it technically, but
sure,
that's the crime.
That's not great, but also
that's not great. But before he was doing it too, like on the black, like people were, I think, selling him black market stuff, and he was they were selling them their overflow, and then he was the one taking it into the black market.
Interesting. So he didn't just dive into this heist.
Yeah. That's part of also why he was one of the first suspects I think that they went to, because they were like, oh, he's a known, like I was saying, he's a known barrel roller.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
That's what I mean, that like I think he sees himself as a bit of like a Robin Hood, where he's like, these laws are stupid. Like people should be able to make money this way if they want. I don't give a shit.
Right. He's like, I'm actually doing everyone a favor.
Like low key, kind of. Yeah. I think that's sort of how some of these people feel. So interesting, bizarre story. I learned a lot about maple syrup and the way that it's made and the way that it's stolen, and to not use a bad forklift when you're stealing maple syrup.
Or, dirty creek water that's going to rust your barrels.
Gotta get your like filtered Fiji water to make sure that it doesn't rust.
It needs to be like that Voss.
Yeah. Voss, beautiful water. Like make sure that it's pure.
Yeah.
Buy a filter.
Sand. What about
sand works. Yeah, sand could work. Actually, it could work just as well. Although I wonder if a barrel full of sand probably weighs a lot more than 600 pounds.
That's true.
That's the viscosity weight thing is what you got to figure out.
If I had to come up with a solution on the spot, I also would have been like, water.
Easy. Right here. Just do it.
It's free. We're not going to.
Interesting.
Dang. That's so cool.
And that is the maple syrup heist.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. I really liked hearing how they like solved it in the end, because I was like, it seems like they would get away with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they only, again, I forgot. I read it somewhere. It's like they only recovered like 15% or 20% of the maple syrup, so it's all gone. It's all in our bellies now.
We're the real winners.
If you had any kind of pancakes or waffles or a crepe or I don't know, anything else that you would put syrup on in the past 10 years, you may be part of it. You may have been part of eating stolen maple syrup.
You are entitled to claim.
You're entitled to compensation.
Yeah.
No, it'd be the opposite. You might have to pay it back.
They're going to find you. The Federation's going to find you.
Wow. Anyway, that's the tab.
I loved that. Oh my gosh.
Thank you very
much.
Great
job. Thank you for that.
So now we come to the part of the show where we will close our tabs. And Alyssa, you are in charge. What do you want to do? What sound effect would you like to put in later?
I feel like the sound of like a barrel tipping over and like gluk, 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 syrup going out.
I like that. That's fun.
That could be good.
Okay. I also, suggestion.
Yeah.
Simple. Guillotine. Getting your head chopped off inside the penny arcade. That could also work. How about this? Why don't we merge the two? Guillotine, then the glug, 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 glug of all the syrup coming out.
Yep. I love it.
Best of both
guillotine
worlds.
is like getting the barrel open.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Done.
All right. You want to count us down?
I would love to. All right. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Close.
Goodbye forever. Goodbye. Okay. Moving on to listener emails. First up, our first email is from Janelle from Alameda, California, up north.
Yes.
Janelle has sent us I'm very excited. A voice email. And I'm going to send it to you right now so you can play it.
My tab is about how riding on Big Thunder Mountain, specifically the one in Disney World, has been proven to help people pass kidney stones. So after Dr. David Wartinger had several patients tell him that they passed kidney stones after riding the coaster, he decided to put the theory to the test. Wartinger rode Big Thunder Mountain 20 times while carrying a 3D model of a kidney with real kidney stones inside. His findings were that if he sat in the last car of the ride, the model kidney passed the stone 64% of the time. Sitting in the first few cars, however, yielded only a 16% passage rate. Later, he did an expanded study that included, quote, riding the same roller coaster with multiple kidney models attached to the researchers. The results from the expanded study were even better. They found that sitting in the back of the ride had a nearly 70% passage rate. Wartinger had this to say about the study, quote, in all, we used 174 kidney stones of varying shapes, sizes, and weights to see if each model worked on the same ride and on 2 other roller coasters. Big Thunder Mountain was the only one that worked. We tried Space Mountain and Aerosmith's Rock and Roller Coaster, and both failed. Well, that's it. I hope you like the tab, love the podcast, and keep it Josie.
Janelle. Oh my gosh, that was great.
Thank you. Amazing. Have you ever passed a kidney stone while you're on?
No, I've heard it's horrific.
Yeah, especially while you're on a roller coaster.
You're not having a fun day at Disney if you're there to pass a kidney stone.
Okay.
Wow.
Make sure not riding back. That's what I've learned. Do not ride in the back of the roller coaster.
Or, if you need some help.
That's true, yeah, if you're trying to get it out.
Yeah. If you've tried everything else and don't want to go to the doctor.
I wonder if it's cheaper to pay a copay to go to the doctor or if it is to buy a ticket to Disneyland, because that probably sounds the same amount of money.
I was just thinking that. I was like, and after you pass it, then maybe you go get a churro and have a good rest of your day.
You're right. You'd feel good at it. That's probably the better move between the two of them. I agree.
It's better value.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's cool. I love that.
Yeah, that's wild. Thank you, Janelle. That's fantastic. Thank you for also, I love when we get the voice recordings. That's the best.
Yeah, she did great.
She did a wonderful job. Janelle also came with us to our San Diego Comic-Con Taco Bell trip, which was really fun.
She did, and she got to try Taco Bell for the first time since she was a child. So we got to be a part of that experience. Another
eventful thing that happened was on the ferry ride back, I also passed a kidney stone, and it was excruciating.
You did?
No.
Oh. I was like, you hit it so well. We were all having such a good time.
I can't bring down the vibe. I have to make sure I'm still smiling. Passing
I don't want anyone
stone.
to think I'm unwell.
Next time you're at San Diego Comic-Con, take the ferry. It'll help you pass a kidney stone as long as you sit in the back.
Sit in the back and then go to Taco Bell and wait.
Get another kidney stone.
Yeah, just work on the next one. Oh, that was so fun, though. I loved that.
That was awesome. All right, you're up for the next one.
All right. So, listener email number 2. This one is from Amber from Deltona, Florida. Hi, Alyssa and Cobbett. A few years ago, I had my first midlife crisis. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Popped my 3 cats in a car and moved across the country to live in swampy Central Florida. I learned about the Waffle House Index during Hurricane Ian after 97% of my town was without power, but the local Waffle House remained a beacon of hope.
Weird.
With the impending landfall of Hurricane Helene, I thought I'd share with you the lore surrounding the resiliency of the Waffle House in inclement weather and how FEMA views disaster-impacted areas in the South through the amount of Waffle Houses that remain open in a storm.
What?
Craig, yeah.
All throughout the night, our Waffle House was still there.
Apparently,
standing tall.
So I looked at her link and I was like, this is cool. And you would never guess, but because they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they're a really good indicator if the damage is catastrophic enough to close.
Interesting.
Craig Fugate, former FEMA administrator, coined the term in 2011, and though not official, the 3-tiered scale sits alongside more formal measures of storm weather. From the FEMA blog article, the index itself isn't just about whether or not you can get pralines on your waffles or if you can get waffles at all, but rather about the damage in a neighborhood.
Yeah, or if you can get syrup on your waffles.
Or if there's syrup available. Just a neat little fact I learned that I never would have thought about before I moved here. All right, so here's why you really picked my email. The worst Taco Bell in the country is in my town. A town I'm certain you've never heard of, Deltona, Florida.
Okay.
We watched the restaurant with hope and excitement as it was erected earlier this year, only to read the devastating news that shortly after opening, it left Deltonans with nothing but sadness and indigestion.
Why?
I haven't... She does not say why. There is an article. It says, take a gamble, if you wish, at the worst Taco Bell location in the U.S. It doesn't say kind of why. It just says the food is
It just
kind of
says
the
where
mess.
the best and worst ones are.
Yeah.
Pacifica, of course, is the best.
Pacifica, that sounds like something we need to go to.
Yes. Not a good. Okay, so it's based on the representative review. Not a good first impression considering this place has just opened up. The food wasn't great at all, to be honest. The burrito looked a mess, had missing ingredients, I'm sure. And my supreme chalupa was actually missing tomato and cheese. So 2 out of 4 ingredients missing. Not bad, eh? Even paid $1 extra for the steak, so that's laughable. So yeah, take a gamble if you wish. I did, and it was pants, but I don't know what that means. You might get good food. Who knows? Maybe it will improve in time. Fingers. Hey, you know what? They just opened. Leave them alone.
Yeah, maybe they're still training. We don't know.
They're getting the hang of it. Who knows?
Yeah.
I still have faith. It's Taco Bell. They're not gonna.
They can rally.
I support the Taco Bell workers in, was it Fenton? Fentanyl? Del Taco, Florida.
Del Taco, Florida.
Deltona. Deltona. Del Taco, Florida. We support your Taco Bell.
Amazing. Amber continues and says, I haven't been
there's
brave
some more
enough.
left. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a little bit more. I haven't been brave enough to visit this Taco Bell yet, but if you ever make it to Orlando, we'll meet you there for a chalupa. Love the pod. Love your banter. I tell most anyone I can they need to listen to 500 Open Tabs. Keep it Josie. Amber.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Amber. And please let us know if you do go to that Taco Bell, because I want to hear an update.
I think you can send us pictures and we'll talk about it. We also, for those of you guys who don't know, we have a Discord where there is a literal channel called Live Moss, where we all hold each other's hands and being weirdly supportive of eating Taco Bell for the first time, deciding whether or not you want to go get Taco Bell for that week. It's a whole
pretty
thing.
Wholesome. Yeah. I that's probably the channel I post most in. I'm like, all right, I can lurk, but like the Live Moss people can know.
Living Moss is a lot of fun. It's also like, other food stuff. And I post a lot about Costco in there too, like just the food court, because I love, and Joe and I both talk about like hot dogs all the time in there. But anyway, if you have a listener email you'd like to submit, or even better, a voice memo that you'd like to submit, we'd love to hear them and we'd love to read them. Please send us an email to 500opentabs@gmail.com. That's 500. Send us a brief explanation of your tab, the article link, of course. And lastly, where you're from. As we always say, we love to know where everybody is. It's fun to know that we have friends who are listening in other places.
Yeah, if you're from Canada and you are impacted by the syrup heist,
let us know if you got any juicy deets.
Yeah.
Sweet deets, I should say. But anyway, that's the end of the email section. Now, before we go, of course, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Alyssa, you're going to be at LA Comic-Con. You're going to be at table A52.
So close. A49.
49. A49. Yep. Why don't you show the lovely people at home who are watching on the YouTube what kind of stuff you're going to have? What are some of the new things you have? What are you excited to show off?
Okay, so this year I branched off into stickers. Because I feel like it's something that people really like to put on their water bottles, and
they do.
I've noticed that that's just like the thing at conventions anymore. Yep. And so I'll show you a couple that I have. I have a whole series called Sad Desserts.
Already love the name.
And they're like little desserts.
I'm a mess.
They have little cute puns. I like this one.
I blew it. Okay, so the first one was a chocolate chip cookie with a bite taken into it, and it's sad. And then now this one's like a pink birthday cake with a candle coming up and says, I blew it. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Very cute.
So I've got a whole series of those in sticker form now. And then I did work on, now that Steamboat Willie is in public domain and I can sell it without being too worried. I have a clear vinyl sticker of him that I'm going to be selling.
Man. I'm getting one of those for sure.
He's pretty cool. I should say it's like a skeleton version. So good for October, good for Halloween.
But also the wheel. What is the boat wheel called? I forget.
Oh, the steering wheel.
The steering wheel of the boat is also skeleton. Is also it's really cool. It's bones.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so that's
cool as shit.
Thank you. Steamboat Willie is like my favorite character, so this has been a very exciting year.
Nice.
Seeing everything that comes out with that.
You're finally able to reveal yourself to the world.
Just like I don't want to, make anyone mad. So it's my whole existence. But yeah, so I'll have those stickers for sale and a few others, and I've got like a new Haunted Mansion print that I'm selling.
Do you have it? If you don't have it right now, we can just put it up on the screen.
I don't. I'll put it up on the screen.
Okay.
And
I think you were showing us some of the progress of that, right? You were showing, or did you post it, or did you text it to us? I remember seeing I remember seeing the progress of it, but I never saw the final. But
yeah, it was like the black and white one.
Yeah, it looked great.
So that'll be there, and hopefully it's fun and good weekend. It sounds like they've got a really good lineup of people coming, and come say hi.
Come say hi.
I would love to chat. Let me know if you know our podcast, because it's definitely something I love talking about and hearing about. So
absolutely. Also, you have to remind me. I have stickers to give out.
Yes.
We'll have stickers for the show if you guys end up going to LA Comic-Con and go to Alyssa's table and tell her that you like the podcast, or even tell her that you hate the podcast. Just tell her that you know that the podcast exists.
Yeah, just
You'll get
mention
a sticker
it.
Either way. Don't spit, but like even if you're mad about it, we'll still give you one.
Please be nice to me. I'll be stressed.
And of course, Comic-Con or LA Comic-Con's Friday is the preview night-ish thing, right?
Yeah, so I think they open at like 3 p.m. is when the doors open.
Okay.
And go till 7 that night, I think.
Okay.
And then full days on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, full days. Of course, I'll be there on Sunday again for that panel, 3 p.m. in that room that I still don't remember because I closed that window from earlier because I had to close all the tabs. But you know what? I'm going to post about it on my Instagram at @PrimaFriends. Go check that one out.
I can throw up a little
graphic. You should probably, throw up the graphic. Yeah. Throw it up. Throw up all over the graphic. Yeah, no, I'm pulling it up. Room 407 at 3 p.m. on Sunday. Of course, I'm also going to go and hassle Alyssa and hang out at her booth as well. So
please do.
I'm going to make it so that she loses an insane amount of sales by being like talking to everybody and be like, can you get him to leave? I don't want to buy anything while he's still here.
No, you will impact my sales in a good way. I'm almost sure.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But yes, we'll be there on Sunday hanging out. But anyway, Alyssa, congratulations on LA Comic-Con and all your stuff. It looks wonderful. Also, congratulations on filling in for Hannah and being the excellent co-host. I'm sure that the audience agrees.
I hope that I did her proud, and
you absolutely did it. She hasn't heard it, but I can tell you that you did us both proud. We're very happy to have you, and we really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Also, speaking of conventions, I almost forgot. I'm going to be at New York Comic Con with Hannah the week of October 17th, I believe, is that Thursday through that Sunday. We're going to be over in Artist Alley. Come check us out. I'll have print stickers. I'll have some fun things that I should probably... I don't have them in hand right now, so we can't show them. But maybe we'll throw them up on the screen.
I'll throw them
if I get them in time. Yeah, throw...
That's how I do graphics.
Just vomit everywhere. But yes, New York Comic Con. If you're in New York City, please come say hi to us. All the information will be available on our Instagrams. Hannah and I will both be sharing a table. I'll also be doing originals, some fun originals that I'm very excited to be doing on site. So come check them out.
Heck yeah, that sounds so awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm excited to do them.
And because she's not here, Cat People, October 8th.
Oh, right. Cat People.
Hannah is promoting her book right now, but make sure to check it out.
Yeah. If you guys are interested in following us on anywhere else on social media, we're at 500 Open Tabs on Instagram. We have a Patreon that we've mentioned before that you can go put your pennies into to make us do dumb things and chop our heads off over and over again. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube. We're trying to get those numbers up. We also have a Discord that you can join. There's so much happening on the Discord. Discord's just every day bigger and bigger.
Discord's really fun.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's fun to hop around on the channels there.
It is. Of course, please subscribe and rate and follow the sponsor links. And lastly, if someone recommended the show to you, please go ahead and recommend it to somebody else. If you know somebody who's a Canadian, or you know somebody who likes maple syrup, or you know somebody who likes penny arcades, or they make miniatures, or they sew stuff, or they like tinkering, or they like history, recommend them this episode.
Like, you know, really into guillotines.
Guillotines. Who's not into guillotines these days?
Who's not?
Come on.
Yeah, you're right.
Send it to your favorite guillotine enthusiast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it. Alyssa, thank you again. Do you have a shout out that you want to give before you end?
I can't. No, my mind's blank. You can follow me at Steamboat Lissy on Instagram. And yeah, just thanks for having me. This has been so fun, and I do actually really look forward to editing every week. So.
Well, you get to edit.
I mean that genuinely.
Your own self this week. It's
that's actually the worst. But yeah. I'm like, oh, that's what I sound like. Oh.
You're like, it's gonna be great. Anyway, thank you again, Alyssa, and until next time, Secundus Nixon shat here 5 times.
I'm gonna let you do it.
I messed it up. Hannah kept saying "see ya at the shitting wall," which I kind of want to keep saying, but I feel like that's her phrase, so I don't want to steal it. So
I can't take her phrase. No, Secundus Nixon shat here 5 times.
5 times. Goodbye.
Bye.